you add running back to your resume now too? Is this surreal?
No, I don't know. Look, I just work here and do what they ask.
And Taysom Hill did everything for the Saints on Sunday, scoring 4 touchdowns, returning kicks, recovering fumbles, and he even was the lead blocker sometimes. And the Saints' much-needed win over the Seahawks. Welcome into our Black and Gold Report. I'm Corey Rholdon, a sports anchor here at WBRZ, joined by Matt Musso of ESPN Radio. And Matt, first, I want your takeaways from the Saints' big win over the Seahawks.
Well, I mean, first, it was great to get a win,
yes.
obviously, again, for the New Orleans Saints. But Taysom Hill, first and foremost, right? I mean, look, obviously, you ran through some of the stats there, the returning of the kicks, all of that. But when you look at him just actually having that role with Jameis Winston hurt, that was what a huge takeaway for me was. Because over the past few years, when Jameis has been hurt, Taysom's been taking those number 2 reps at quarterback, and you've seen his role diminished with the offense. You didn't see that, and he played a massive role on the way to that victory. I think they need Marcus May a lot in the secondary right now. He was limited on the practice report earlier this week. Need him back because Justin Evans is doing well, but he's just not a starting safety in this league. And JT Gray's been a special teams ace for you, not a safety. So you have that. Time of possession was huge. 3 10-play drives and 1 9-play for the drives for the Saints. And the turnovers just have to cease. You were able to overcome it because you got 14 points off of it. But you can't keep turning the ball over multiple times a game and keep winning in the NFL.
Oh, I agree. And the 2 points that I want to talk about that you just made are the turnovers and the secondary troubles. The Saints have the worst turnover margin in the league, and Geno Smith torched the Saints with 3 long touchdowns. That can't happen. We're going to talk about Marshon Lattimore's health going up against that Bengals receiving core. And also the Saints had a long touchdown given up on rushing the football. That can't happen on Sunday as a couple of former LSU Tigers come into the Dome, and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And as a New Orleanian, I don't get the whole, who we're rooting for thing. I think, it's always been LSU on Saturdays, the Saints on Sundays. I don't think Louisiana should be divided in this one, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I go back and forth with this, man, honestly. Not me personally, but I do know people from Baton Rouge who are LSU fans first and foremost. They don't want the Saints to do bad. Like, they're not rooting against the Saints, correct? But first and foremost, they are LSU fans, and I know people who own more Bengals stuff than Saints stuff. So I know Joe Burrow earlier this week said, God, people aren't going to be rooting for me. Joe, there's going to be some in there rooting for him. Hopefully, it's still a home field advantage for the New Orleans Saints, though.
Absolutely. And, I think that if you're not a Saints fan and you're an LSU fan, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly,
that's fine.
yeah.
You see, but if you call yourself a Saints fan, if you're part of the Who Dat Nation and you wear a Saints shirt and a Bengals hat, dude, they need to get the Archdiocese up there and excommunicate, you from the Who Dat Nation. But this is what Dennis Allen had to say on Sunday if he thinks Saints fans should be wearing any Bengals colors.
We're really kind of just getting into those guys a little bit, but I think both of them are outstanding players, and hopefully our crowd will be a little bit more behind the Saints team and not the local favorites. So we got a couple of local favorites on our side too. I know what those players mean to LSU fans, and certainly they're great players, and they have a special place in, Louisiana sports history in that they brought a national championship to LSU. But we're on to the NFL now, and they're part of the enemy.
They're absolutely a part of the enemy. And Dennis Allen has a fair point for borderline Saints fans, too. The Black and Gold have 2 LSU legends of their own, and Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry. But it's going to be a fun atmosphere in the Dome either way. And this matchup, what are you looking for the most?
Well, so Saints secondary, it's pretty banged up. I know earlier you mentioned Marshon Lattimore's health. You can really throw in Marcus May, Paulson Adebo maybe even. Not necessarily his health, but he's coming back off of that injury. He missed some time, maybe taking a little bit of adjustment period for the young player still. They're going up against, while the passing numbers haven't necessarily always been there for the Bengals this year, the weapons they have. Jamar Chase is great. Tyler Boyd's been really good. The tight ends are effective, and Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. You've seen teams play a lot of soft zone against them and try to limit that. you have to be healthy if you're the Saints in the secondary and take away those options like other teams have. If you don't, it could be a very long day in the Superdome.
And if Marshawn Lattimore does not play, he didn't practice yesterday.
Correct.
I think the only way the Saints could win is if they get pressure on Geno Smith. The Bengals' offensive line, yet again, is horrible. They've given up 19 sacks so far this season. Cam Jordan has to get pressure. That Saints defensive line came into the season as possibly their strength. They haven't lived up to that in my eyes. I know Cam has, 3.5 sacks this year, but where's Marcus Davenport? Where's Carl Granderson? Is Peyton Turner ever going to play a game for this team on Sunday? They need them against a dynamic receiving core. And Cam talked about getting after the quarterback and what Joe Burrow brings to the field.
Me, I'm a focus and hone in on trying to stop the run, and then after the run, we'll have some fun. He's able to make those deep throws. He's able to put the ball on money. He has great pocket presence. In a league of more rollout, play action, boot, running backs if you're over Atlanta, type quarterbacks, you have a guy who's getting shifty in the pocket and out there throwing that thing at a high clip.
Get pressure on Joe Burrow really early. Try to force some turnovers, get to him, and I think that's the way the Saints win this game. For more keys to the victory, we have the Florida Lee Report's Chris Lunkin. And Chris, what do you have?
Thanks, Corey. So obviously the Saints are looking to carry over some of the momentum from last game going into this week. And in order to do that, here are my keys to victory. First, the Saints must limit the penalties. They've been one of the most penalized teams in the league this season. The Saints understand that staying disciplined is vital because it's the little things that can get you beat in close ball games. The second point is turnovers. In crucial moments of the ball game, twice in the last 2 weeks, the Saints have turned the ball over right before the half with a chance to get points, and both times resulted in points going the other way. The Saints have to play clean football, especially against a good opportunistic defense like the Bengals. And finally, run the football. The offense may have finally found an identity as a top 10 rushing team in the NFL behind playmakers like Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. As long as the offense can remain in manageable situations and avoid playing behind the sticks, I'd let the run game take off and take charge. If they do these things, and I believe they have the shot at beating the Bengals at home.
Thank you, Chris. With all of these points we're all making today, what do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
Low-scoring game. Low-scoring game. Obviously, we mentioned kind of some of the Bengals' struggles on offense. They have not scored 30 points yet this season, which is mind-boggling given all their weapons. The Saints receivers are hurt. Your top three did not practice yesterday, being Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry. We know about Chris Olave and concussion protocol. You're going to be looking at Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood. Like, it's just not going to be the top of the, it's not going to be the guys you really want out there.
It's going to be like last year when they had the worst receiving core in the NFL.
So that's going to be tough. I agree with what Chris said. Run the ball. That was massive for them in that game, and that was absolutely the point of emphasis. They came out 7 runs on the first drive. But without the weapons on the outside, I find it tough for the Saints. I'll take the Bengals 20-17.
I think they're going to be a little bit motivated in the Dome with Burrow and Chase coming in here like, hey, you know what? We're still Louisiana's team, and Andy Dalton is going to have a revenge game against his former team.
That's true.
Andy Dalton revenge game. I have the Saints winning 24-20. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the Saints get pressure on Joe Burrow, force some turnovers, give Dalton the offense some short yardage, some short fields, and then you use Taysom Hill just to pound it in there and start running the football. That's it for the Black and Gold Report. For Matt, for Chris, thanks for joining us, and we'll see y'all next week.